Oh my goodness, why? Why would you waste your hard earned money on a dying medium that is physical media whenever you can stream anything at your fingertips? Well, my friend, that is the topic of today's conversation from yours truly. So stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone, to Ungraduated Media. I'm your host, of course, Ken Hanneman, and today I thought I would do something a little bit different. I am going to start my own series, and we're going to call this Ungraduated Learning. Yeah, I know, it sounds contradictory, right? But that is the whole point of this channel. It is to rethink your perspective through your own lenses, your own mind, your own ideas, and not the indoctrination and the perspectives and the teachings and the biases of everybody else. Hence, what the word ungraduated means. It means to step back and remove yourself from your pre programmed beliefs, whether you realize that they were put there or not by someone else, to discover things for yourself. And I'm doing this through, of course, the means of physical movies, books, and music. And that is what we will be getting into today. Why even collect this stuff? That is, books, physical media. This, of course, being Isaac Asimov's I, Robot novel, book, sci-fi novel, written from 1950-ish, which, of course, correlates with the Alan Parsons Project. This, of course, being I, Robot. You have I, Robot the book. You have I, Robot the vinyl release. And, of course, you have Will Smith's 2004 I, Robot, which I cannot find back there. I do have it and loved that movie. All three of these we're going to do a special episode on at a later point in time, but it's really tying this type of stuff together. We know oftentimes a lot of movies come from the writings of books. I don't think oftentimes it comes from vinyl music, but there's a lot of overlay and a lot of experience from music artists that are influenced through that of books and movies. So whether or not there is an interwoven meaning like there is again between I, Robot, the book, as well as I, Robot, the Alan Parsons Project, whether or not we have that connection or not, we get into this stuff because we love it. And that is where we will start today's list of why the hell collect physical media anyways. So number one, it is, of course, through the passion, the desire, the craveability of something that you like. Why do anything, quite frankly, if you don't enjoy it? I would say anything in life. One of my own personal philosophies is if you wake up and you don't enjoy what it is that you do, well, stop doing it. I know sometimes easier said than done, but you have to love what it is. And I know we could probably stop the entire list right there and say, all of us who hear, why do you do this? Well, don't worry about it. Go mind your own business. Don't worry about where I spend my time, my money, my efforts. It's easiest to probably just say that. But we will continue to elaborate further and further and further because there is a whole lot of good that comes from the physical collecting of the ownership and the seeing, the feeling, the touch, the learning aspects that you can't get from just streaming music or movies or even the Kindle or Nook e-readers that were a phase as well too. But getting back to the point, you have to love what you do. And if you love collecting, of course, that's why you collect. If you love a certain aspect, you may collect it, be that from stamps, coins, baseball cards. There's all kinds of things that are collectible items in life. So somebody may ask you, well, why movies? Well, for one, the love of cinema, the love of film. Now, I myself, I would say, am quite the novice when it comes to film. I really spent most of my time in the Hollywood blockbuster stages of film. So, as my earlier self growing up, the first thing I got into that really drove my love of movies, I think, was Keanu Reeves in The Matrix. Of course, you have Lawrence Fishburne and others in that film, but my God, man, The Matrix, that's where my passion for film and movies really began back in 1999. I thought that film was just such an eye-opener. Even then, when I was 18 years old in 1999, I did not know that the film had such great potential. I just knew I liked it. And I didn't love it because it was a great sci-fi flick. I loved it because I knew there was some deeper meaning within it about taking control of your own mind, thinking for yourself, asking the right questions, not putting your head in the mud and pretending that whatever reality is around you is always the way that others tell you that it is. I think that's probably what spawned the entire ungraduated aspect of my life, always seeking bigger questions, always asking why. And for me, it began very much with this film. As you can see around me, there's actually a lot of Matrix references, and probably as I build out this theater room in my theater space here, my home theater viewing and music listening space, there will be more and more of the influences from the biggest films that influence me. But the love of film, for goodness sakes, the love of anything that you have is going to drive your passions and hence drive your collectability if you so see it. Okay, number two on why you would still want to collect physical media. Well, that's ownership, right? I own all this stuff that's behind me. Now, this is a very unique release of the movie Possession. This actually comes from an overseas, I think it's from Japan. Stingray is the name of this label. I don't have anything else from Stingray. And I got this on eBay. It's a very controversial film, right? It's quite a dark film. You can see some of that writing there all on the back. Most of that's all in Japanese, but I own this. So no matter what, when it comes to if this thing ever were to be streamed for a certain period of time, if any streaming service offers the film Possession, well, of course, they can take it down. It's not going to be there the entire time. So I may find that I want to watch it and it's not there to be watched. Now, I can certainly say one of the downsides is the space aspect. When you're talking about vinyl and you're talking about movies and you're talking about books, you got to physically, of course, find places to store all this stuff. But you own it. You can touch it. You can look at it. You can feel it. You can pull it out. There is some tangibility in this. Wanted to make sure I could show that. Sometimes you never know what you're pulling out of these collections, but you can't necessarily just go online and feel and touch this stuff. Yes, you can look it up. There is the learnability aspect. This, of course, just being all photos from the film Possession itself, not a lot of learning per se inside of it. But again, you have this point of reference that you can feel, touch. Nice hard box, by the way, from this release, this Stingray. Show you guys that down on the bottom if it would ever focus. Camera never ever wants to focus for me. Anyway, can't see it, but it says Stingray right down there. So, ownership. Amaray cases, being able to actually own these, being able to open them up, being able to physically experience them. Of course, there's that whole aspect we'll talk about in a little bit about packaging, but nonetheless, there is a physicality to the ownership aspect of being able to feel and touch and experience that I think some people today are longing for. There's always going to be a large technological continuation, but when it comes to people realizing that the more things go mainstream with the technology aspect, the less tangibility there is, the less ownership that there is. And of course, all these big companies like Disney and Fox and Warner and Universal and Paramount, they own their rights to their movies, and at any given time, they could pull them off of their services. So streaming, of course, will not always be a viable means when it comes to enjoying and experiencing the films, even the music that you want. The same goes for music streaming services. You can never say that you own that material. You can certainly say that you own the physical copies of the books, the music, the vinyls, the CDs, the cassettes, the 8 tracks. Go back as far as you want in terms of music as well. It's the same type of stuff here. Ownership matters. Next up, for number 3, we have something that is known as censorship. Now, I know this is a more controversial reason, but it kind of goes along with number 2 in ownership, is that you don't control whenever a studio, a label, an owner who's streaming decides they want to alter the original intent of a film. Now, that may be for what in their eyes is a good reason. This is what the controversy comes in, and I can look very recently to the controversy with this. This is the French Connection, William Friedkin. You can say what you want about him with all the controversy that surrounds him too, but there was I think about a 10-second line in this film that had a racial slur that was removed from the streaming service. And I don't think it was from Criterion. I think it was Warner Brothers or Fox that owns the rights to this now. Let me see if I can actually show who owns this. 20th Century Fox. So there was a streaming service, and I think it would have been on 20th Century Fox, where it was removed, this phrase, this sentence that was really setting up a lot of the character, the explaining of the movie, some of the tenseness behind it. There is a lot of arguments to be made around what should or shouldn't be said, especially in today's environment, understandably so. But back in time, historical context sometimes matters. And when you're trying to paint a perspective in a film, it is art, whether you want to look at it that way or not. Film is certainly art. And even if we deem certain things no longer okay today, it doesn't mean that we should necessarily alter the past. And that's just my opinion, and that's where I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to go down all those other channels, at least not here, not today on this recording, although I love getting into those topics. But there is the changeability, the censorship of what was originally intended. So I went out and got this copy online of The French Connection, because as soon as this news broke, probably months ago, maybe coming up on a year ago or so now, maybe not quite a year, maybe it was 9 months ago, this, of course, got a lot of publicity and press over the altering of just this 10-second line. But nonetheless, people went out and purchased their physical copy because they wanted to make sure that the original intended portrayal, for better or for worse, we're not here to judge it. We're here to talk about what the original intended work of art was meant to be. In my opinion, that should not be changed. So when you own it, as long as you own the original intended release, can't be altered. So that is point number 3. On to number 4, the fourth reason why you'd want to continue to collect physical media despite the fact that everyone says it's dying. How about sound quality? Does sound quality matter to you? Of course, the movie, the film, picture quality matters, but why I say sound quality is that if you are a sound geek like myself, there is this thing known as compression when it comes to bandwidth. Now, I know a lot about technology. I know a lot about sound and video quality. I don't know all the technical jargon, but I do know this. When it comes to sound, it is often compressed in order to still meet the demands of the internet providers. Yes, I know things keep getting faster, but still, no matter how fast that download or upload or the streaming service can be with the megabits per second, whatever the terminology is, you still have this aspect of data. And the more data that's being fed into a film nowadays with HDR, HDR10, Dolby Vision, you've got all of that, which most streaming services are trying very hard to give the attention necessary to that, to make the picture quality look just as good as an on-disc level of quality. And that's come a long way. I give props where props is due. Whenever you stream a movie today and you have a good service, it's a whole different conversation. Some people don't have the ability to have the fastest streaming service or internet service possible, so they have their own problems with just streaming in general. But nonetheless, I digress. Back to the point. The focus is on the picture. So typically the sound is dialed back, because if it were to be the full-on, say, Dolby Atmos track, it's going to be hard to get all that data through the bandwidth into that streaming provider. So Here's an example. Have not opened this up yet. This is brand new. Say what you want to say about the films. This is the Best Buy exclusive Steelbook set that just came out. This is Twilight, the whole entire saga, the 15-year anniversary. I saw a review of these films, and the Dolby Atmos tracks are supposedly just absolutely bumping. Now, you got to have a pretty good Dolby Atmos system to begin with. And nothing against the soundbar technology. The soundbar technology has certainly come a long way as well. But I'm talking if you've got a true Dolby Atmos setup and you have good surround sound speakers. In my situation, of course, the description's in the comments below of my entire setup, audio, video. But I have 7 bass level speakers with sides and surrounds, with then 4 actual speakers over the top of you. Now, debatable to say when it comes to movies if Atmos is really fully utilized, because no matter whether it's streaming or on physical, you have to have the movie, the film, mixed in a Dolby Atmos track. And a lot of times the standards of 5.1, which is basically a 5 sound track with a LTE or LFE, low frequency bass track that you're going to get. But Atmos adds in the layer of sound above you. And of course, that is hard to get into a stream. They will often, on Netflix as well as HBO Max and others, show Dolby Vision, Dolby Atmos. But if you really listen, if you compared the streaming quality to that of physical media, you're going to always find you have to crank the sound on the streaming versus just putting in the disc. So sound quality, if it matters to you, it definitely matters to me. That is your 4th reason. And I do hear that the Twilight Saga series has quite the Dolby Atmos track. I got into the first 3 of these films kind of reluctantly with my wife. She was a big fan of these films, but I don't know if you can see this here at the bottom. This is all of the, upside down, the specifics. Of course, you can see Dolby Vision, Dolby Atmos, all in 4K. And again, I think you can get a pretty strong signal with Dolby Vision. The color, I don't think is too dramatically different with the technology today of the internet. But that sound quality is just hard to beat with physical media. Now we get into one of the most fun aspects of why you collect physical media, particularly movies. This pertains to vinyl music and CDs as well too, and in some cases books, but it's the packaging. At number 5, it is the packaging. My good buddy Fuzz over at the Original Fuzz just did an amazing overview of all things packaging. It motivated me. I wanted to do my own kind of special learning, if you will, on why things are what they are, and I'm going to continue that here throughout all of the channel as time goes on with all the learnings that we can tie together. But back to the point here on physical media, the packaging. And yes, as Fuzz says, and as any collector will tell you, not all packaging is made equal. Of course, you've got your original just Amaray cases, as I had showed you about the French Connection. That's just a basic Blu-ray case. From there, it's a whole new world of discovery. And you've got slip covers and chunky boxes and steelbooks and big box sets, collector editions. I'm going to show off a few of what I have here just as briefly as I can to try to show you what rabbit trails I've gone down. So while, yes, there are basic slipcovers, Vinegar Syndrome does do some of the best slipcovers. This is your basic Vinegar Syndrome slipcover. It has a level of quality to it that is just better than normal slipcovers. These pieces of cardboard are not as flimsy. This is just your basic. You can see it's embossed. It's got some shine on the left side there of that face. This is Fade to Black, a great one from Vinegar Syndrome, if you have not seen it, about a gentleman who emulates all of his favorite horror characters and brings it into real life. Of course, this is your basic Blu-ray case, but when you can have the fun with slipcovers, well, that's a piece of it. And as it's very, very well discussed in Fuzz's film on packaging, not all releases come with slipcovers. Typically, it's your early first pressings. Not even do all releases get slipcovers. Sometimes they just don't, and they're just released on just the basic Amaray case. But of course, if you get an earlier pressing, it's kind of an exclusivity. And then a lot of times you'll see movies with just the same basic slipcover over top of it with the same artwork underneath. But the best part about the packaging too is it just continues on the inside. A lot of times you get reversible cover art. So it's just one more special, unique thing that, again, you can see this is the reversible cover art on the back, because whenever you originally get this and you open it up, it has the same cover art that's on the box. Well, why would you want to do that? So if you have reversible cover art, you can make this more of an experience and have it be different. I know, small, simple things, but that's just one of the cool features. Then you have the aspect of disc art. If you like art in general, you get to experience pretty cool disc art. Again, results may vary and will vary with different labels and producers of physical media, because not everybody does disc art. And if they do it, it's usually pretty minimal, not quite to any level of extent that you see here in this Vinegar Syndrome Fade to Black. Now, as you go down the channel and you go down the lists of rabbit trails, if you will, you get different kinds of slipcovers. Here is a lenticular. Not a whole lot of movement in this Tammy and the T-Rex with, of course, Paul Walker, Denise Richards. This is an all-time classic that you just wouldn't expect from these two together. But hey, Vinegar Syndrome knew how to do it. There's a 4K release of Tammy and the T-Rex, but this is the Blu-ray. I have the 4K, but had to, of course, have the Blu-ray because it came with the lenticular case. Now, the other thing about this is it does add to the resale value, and that's something that we'll discuss later on. But not that I ever intend to resell, but if you get special packaging, once they go out of print, which they most certainly do from a collector's aspect, the resale value increases. Here is what's known as a Vinegar Syndrome archive. This is Ted Bundy. And in this situation, you have a slipcover that's more of a box. So you have this style of a slipcover. This is a numbered, what Vinegar Syndrome does with their VSAs. I know it's going to be hard to probably see, as small print with this camera just never wants to focus. Nonetheless, that's a handwritten. You can kind of see it a little bit better that way. There you go. Maybe I just shouldn't jam it in the camera's face. Anyway, this is number 3,389 of 5,000 is what that says. But you have that aspect of a slip cover, if you will. And then there's just all kinds of more creative aspects that I just love from Vinegar Syndrome. This was probably one of the most recent, very unique slip covers, if you will. This is Blood-Sucking Freaks. This movie sucks. I mean, it doesn't suck the blood from you, but I thought it sucked, quite frankly. But the packaging, the packaging at least makes it a bit more, I guess, bearable. But you have this beautiful hard box slip cover, if you will. But wait, it's not just a slip cover. This is the uniqueness of what Vinegar Syndrome does. This is a magnetic clasp that you can open from the side as well too. And as I'm opening it, I don't want it to fall, so let me just get this right eventually. So as you open this, you can see it can open this way. And instead of it just being a normal slipcover, you have artwork on the inside of this. But it also, as a clasp, magnetic clasp, goes right back into what would look like a traditional slipcover. And again, this film, cannot recommend it. It was kind of tough to sit and watch through, but really cool packaging. And then this is New York Ninja. This is a VSU, which is, of course, I'm sorry, VSP, not a VSU, VSP, Vinegar Syndrome Productions. There are VSUs as well, too. I know you're not going to be able to see that VSP probably on the side there, but the VSPs come in these very unique boxes that are a collector's dream. And this New York Ninja was the very first one in the line. And there's a unique story behind it. This is a film that, again, what Vinegar Syndrome does so oftenly well, and why they're also criticized, is they take typically not the best films and they find ways to restore them, bring them into significance once again. And the situation with this film is it was abandoned. It had most of the cuts in the film reel still left, but there was no audio in it whatsoever. And it was picked up and found and restored. They had to do an entire audio track that was never done. It was lost. So imagine you're having to look at the mouth speaking and trying to figure out. There was no subtitles. It was a lost film, an abandoned film. I think John Liu is the gentleman's name that was the original director of this film, who abandoned it back in the 70s. And then it was rediscovered and saved, but a whole new voiceover had to be done. So anyway, so inside of these VSPs, you've got some artwork, you've got a book inside of it, you have the slipcover of the film with the Amaret case, which inside the Amaret case is going to have reversible artwork on your disc. I mean, it's just like, it's kind of like one of these Russian dolls where you just, as you open them up more and more and more, you just keep discovering more and more material and learning. And with this ribbon here, you can pop out the book, where again you get a lot more learning and information inside the movie, what went into the creation here of New York Ninja, which has now become a cult classic. I think, I don't know if I'd call it a cult classic, but it's just in terms of ninja movies, it's a cool story. And again, this is the story of how New York Ninja came to be. And it's got a very cool, unique story. And then at the very end of this Russian doll, you have some more artwork of I Love New York Ninja. So it's just really cool to see. Vinegar Syndrome is probably one of the best. You can say what you want to say about their films in terms of the film quality. They do have some good releases, I think, some more well-known films, but a lot of their stuff is just unknown, kind of B-rated movies, sometimes worse than that. Here's an example of a steelbook. This is American Psycho. I do have all of the 4K Best Buy steelbook exclusives, this one being one of the coolest ones because as you remove the slipcover, you can see the artwork below. It's an interactive slipcover, if you will. And while not all the Lionsgate slipcovers are probably as unique as this, they all have their unique flair and art and design to them. This one being one of the most popular that kind of put, I think, the Lionsgate 4K steelbooks on the map. And more artwork, of course, on the steelbooks. And as you open it up, you kind of see sometimes they will correspond with each other. This one being the professional up front looking Christian Bale, and then from behind with the bloody axe. So sometimes the artwork covers all the way across, and you often will get little tidbits on the inside. Here on the inside of this, you can see is the envelope, the business card, sorry, from, of course, Christian Bale's character, Patrick Bateman. And you got more artwork on these discs. So that's just one example of a steelbook, of which I have many. I am a collector of all movies in physical media. So I have slipcovers and box sets and steelbooks. I don't really know if I have a preference. If I like the film, I get it. And if I can, I try to get it in whatever version I feel is the most unique and the best. I don't really have a preference when it comes to steelbooks or not. And then you have things like this. So here is a Alfred Hitchcock collection, and I have all three of these. The more recent one, the volume 3 that came out, this is volume 1. But in this type of packaging, you not only have, of course, the box, which is a slip box here with the details on the back, not the highest quality box, but you have this really cool, I guess, kind of a booklet that houses all of the discs on 4K. You have the artwork. Whoop, there goes the digital code. The artwork on the back. And then inside, as you flip through this, I don't want to lose the discs here. They're come popping out at me. Here is the all-encompassing view. You got vertigo on this one. Vertigo, the birds, Psycho, and Rear Window. So that's cool artwork. Here is Rear Window, the features, the bonus features, as well as some of the artwork. The year 1954, and as you just continue to flip through it, you get more information. Vertigo, and I'll just continue to flip through this. Here is Psycho and the birds. So there's that kind of a unique style of packaging. Again, there's almost unlimited possibilities. I guess there is a limit to them, but these labels continue to find unique and new ways of doing this type of stuff. Now, speaking of Alfred Hitchcock, here's Arrow's big box set of all the Psycho movies, 1 through 4. This, of course, being in a case with a slip case over top of the entire big box. All 4 films with, again, a book. I'm not going to pull this all out. I did a separate unboxing of this if you want to actually see it. But loved all 4 of these films. I had only really seen bits and pieces of the first and got to experience all 4 Psychos with the book to learn more about the making, producing, the writing that went into all of those films. And hey, you know, if someday, somewhere, someone decides that they don't like the movie Psycho or the films within the Psycho series and wants to pull it off streaming, well, hey, I own this, right? So there's the Arrow release of Psycho. And last but not least, on the packaging, there's all kinds of stuff. I'm not hitting all the packaging here. This is just a smattering of the examples. There's stuff like this, like true on collectors type stuff. This is from Ronin Flicks. This is I Spit on Your Grave. This wasn't really a well-known box set. I found this online and it was about $100 for, maybe it was 60 or 70 bucks. I don't think it was quite 100, but inside of it, you have the nice big chunky box set with special unique artwork. You have the 2 films in this, which was the original I Spit on Your Grave, as well as Deja Vu, which sucked, the second sequel to this, the homage, if you will, which I think was 40 years later. The tribute, Deja Vu, tries to take off of the original, and it just doesn't hit. Bad acting. It can't compare to the original I Spit on Your Grave. But I did do an entire unboxing for this on the channel as well too. But this is Deja Vu, not the best film. And then you have kind of a documentary. This is Living With, or I'm sorry, this is the documentary Growing Up With I Spit on Your Grave, and this is the actual original film. So those are the 3 films that come in this box set. And of course, you have your book, which details more perspective and learnings behind the film. And then inside of this, as you'll get with these bigger collector's items, you'll get other things like posters and art cards. This one has a magnet in case you want to put that image for your children on the magnet. Maybe you can put their report card with I Spit on Your Grave. So the packaging. On to number 6, the 6th reason why, no matter what anybody tells you, you still want to collect physical media, and that is for special features. Now, I never used to be a big special features guy myself, but as I got into collecting, I've grown to really appreciate it. And you don't get that on streaming. You can't dive into the ins and outs and the whys and the how it comes and the history and the commentary and the exclusive special features on streaming services. Again, that has to do mostly with movies, not so much books and music. But back to this example here of the Alfred Hitchcock 4K Volume 1 set, you get 2 versions of Psycho. This is the special features off the back of the box. Includes 2 versions of Psycho, the uncut version which is the extended version of the movie as seen in theaters in 1960, is exactly as intended by Alfred Hitchcock and now available with additional footage for the first time ever. Then you have the most widely seen original theatrical version. That's the two versions of Psycho. Then you have plus hours of bonus features such as documentaries, expert commentaries, interviews, screen tests, storyboards, and much more. So if you really love something and you're a fan of it and you want to experience the complete ins and outs of it, you got to have those special features. Here are all the ones that I just read to you, but a lot of these physical copy releases come with just amazing physical copy special features. And if you are someone who, again, wants to fully immerse yourself into the content, then that is one way to do it. Now, I myself wasn't a big commentaries person, but to hear a director or a producer or a writer or an actor commenting over the film, never been my cup of tea. I might do it in the background if I'm just kind of around the house and just curious to listen and learn. But a lot of the special interviews and those types of things are what I love the most about the special features on physical media. Number 7 has to deal with exclusivity. The exclusives, my friends. So I'm talking about things like this. This is a brand new copy of the Duel 4K limited edition steelbook from Groove. Groove, an online dealer, partner of physical media. You can get Duel, different versions of it from different locations, but you can only get this copy of Duel from Groove. That's a exclusive, if you will. So we have that perspective. Then you have, of course, other types of exclusives. Here is a Best Buy 4K Lionsgate Steelbook exclusive that is only from Best Buy. For the time being, that is. Now, that means when Best Buy stops doing these, you ain't going to be able to get this particular Best Buy exclusive of Total Recall anywhere else. There could be other releases, other versions, other copies of this, but there will never be again a Best Buy exclusive. So it's yours. You have it. You own it. Nobody else. But there is some people who will, hey, by no judgment from me, go down and collect all different types of releases from all the varying different partners, such as Walmart exclusives, Target exclusives, Best Buy exclusives. I'm fine getting one that I like. For me, it's been Best Buy mostly. I don't really go after the Target or Walmart exclusives. Of course, Best Buy recently announcing pulling out of physical media and Target vastly reducing theirs. Where will all the exclusives go? Most likely to online. You're going to still have Amazon exclusives, Groove, Orbit DVDs, Grindhouse, Deep Discount, Barnes and Noble. That's the best part about exclusives is you're going to always have some third-party manufacturer, provider, middleman who's going to do the exclusivity. And the days are numbered, of course, for the Best Buy exclusives. But whether it be Walmart, maybe Target still does them, a lot less of the big box retailers probably will be doing them. You'll be finding these moving online. But it adds to the variability and the collectability, and it also opens up plenty of rabbit trails that lead to other problems and issues such as double dipping or triple dipping and so forth, so on and so forth into the different versions, because sometimes they have different posters or art cards, different special features. Not always is it just different artwork. For number 8, and we touched on this earlier, but if you were to choose to get rid of this stuff, well, there can be a pretty nice resale value. Now, I never intend to get rid of this stuff. I know it can't go to the grave with me, so I'm going to enjoy it while I have it, experience it, own it, and just really, I guess, love the experience. What else is there to say about it? But hey, maybe you will it on, right? After you're gone. Maybe you give it away to somebody else who may appreciate it and they retain that value. There is a investment aspect if you take care of these things, hence why some I myself don't do this all the time. I do try to get covers and find ways to protect my physical media, but in terms of overall value, this stuff does go up in value, particularly depending upon the number of releases. A lot of times, special editions have limited to 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 copies or editions. A lot of times there's damage, and there's something that happens in the process of the shipping, which causes an even less amount to be sellable, and that increases the value. And things inevitably, when they're limited, go out of print. And they might come back, which can always decrease the value somewhat. This definitely goes in line with vinyl record pressings. It's no different there. The less pressings that there are, the more value that there is. And if they repress or reissue of the same label in particular, then it causes a decrease in that value. It's like anything else, supply and demand. If you've got more of something out there, a lot more, then the value, of course, for demand is less. The less amount you have out there, if demand is there, the value goes up. Take, for example, this. Not this Hunger Games, although this could be perhaps one day or something as a Best Buy exclusive. I'm talking about this Best Buy exclusive. This is, yes, the coveted, sought after Rambo Best Buy exclusive set. Now, why this is so rare is because it was damaged, and there was an entire debacle with the shipping process that caused them not to be able to release however many there was supposed to be. Now, in my situation here, this has a dent that you can kind of see right here. So it's the only damaged part of this big box set, the Rambo set, this being a Best Buy exclusive. So this thing right now, in decent enough condition, is going for somewhere around $500 on the second market. Yes, absolutely insane to me. $500 or more in some cases. People who were seeking after this because it's limited, it was exclusive, and because there was damage in how they stored and shipped and cared for these are notorious, these steel cases, if not handled properly, to get dinged and dented and damaged. But this is a very, very sought after set. Of course, the 5 Rambo films on 4K that are Best Buy exclusives. So one more look at it. There you go, the complete Steelbook collection, the Rambo collection, all in beautiful 4K from Lionsgate. Kind of just hard to beat. Absolutely love it. Look at the spines there. All right, that's all you're going to get. But yeah, resale value is one of those aspects when it comes down to physical media, should you decide to sell, or again, perhaps leave it to some lucky member of your family when depressingly you're no longer here to enjoy your physical media. Someone else just might be. Getting down here close to the end, 2 more big reasons why you should continue to collect physical media, no matter what anybody tries to scare tactic you into. And that is the experience of different labels. I cannot tell you how much I've learned from collecting. For example, Second Sight Films. This is Crimes of the Future from Second Sight, who was notorious for doing these amazing big box sets with books and posters and art cards, and you get all kinds of great information and limited edition contents inside of Second Sight releases. I would have never have known about Second Sight if I hadn't got into physical media collecting, and this is just one of quite a few Second Sight releases I have. Crimes of the Future, David Cronenberg latest film, which just loving David Cronenberg right now. But I have probably 30 different, I guess, boutique labels. And again, you don't have to collect boutique label brands. You could go with all the major studios if you wanted to, but as you get into the discovery, the rabbit trails, they open up. And again, it's something you really can't experience with streaming. Here is something from Blue Underground. This is called God Told Me To, another great flick that has to do with some controversial topics around religion and someone believing that they are being message through God to kill people, but this is a Blue Underground release, if you can see it right there. So Blue Underground being their own particular label that I've experienced through the collecting of physical media. We have Kino Lorber. This is Charles Bronson's Death Wish 4K from Kino Lorber, which is a pretty well-known label in the boutique market. Discovered them through, of course, physical media collecting. This is 101 Films. This is the following, a film from Christopher Nolan, one of the very few that I have not seen, but this comes from 101 Films. Then we have Radiance Films. This is a box set from Radiance, which I'm digging every single thing that they're putting out right now. You've got really just a unique, very eclectic array that Franz is putting out in Radiance, who comes from Arrow Films. He took his 12 years to his own label and is now producing a lot of greatness from the Radiance line. So I have Radiance, which I've experienced. Arrow Films, of course, you cannot go wrong with Arrow Films. They are probably one of the best, one of the most well-known, as I just referenced. Franz Simone coming from Arrow Films over to Radiance. This is a big box set of the Arrow Videos collection, the Arrow Films. This is the video store collection that, as you can tell, is still sealed and unopened, but just one more example. And the list goes on and on and on and on of boutique labels and brands that you can learn to appreciate and experience when it comes to the collecting of physical media. And the 10th and final reason why you don't listen to anybody who says physical media is dying, why should you collect it? Well, what goes around comes around, my friends. So many times. Look at vinyl music, for example. We thought it was dead. Before vinyl, there was 8 tracks. Before 8 tracks, there was just tape reels and not a lot of other ways to enjoy music besides the radio. So what's going to happen in time is, as the cycles of change move, I believe, looking at physical movies, for example, you had actual movie cinema, you had quiet film, you had literally no music, no sound, silent films, which progressed to, of course, films that were in 4K with audio, which then eventually progressed into color with Technicolor. Eventually you got home VHS. Then you had DVD. Before that, you had laser discs. Now Blu-ray, 4K. Enter the internet and streaming. People, I think, are going to begin to realize the tangibility of ownership and the craving and the longing to, again, hold that physical media, to experience it, to appreciate it, to own it, to understand it. And sometimes you just don't get that on streaming. Now, the conveniences of streaming, certainly there, be it with music or movies, the ability to just check out something and sample it to see if you want to invest in the money first, your money into it first, is always wise. And that goes for music streaming services as well too. The convenience of downloading an electronic book on a Kindle, super easy and convenient. But still, I always find that when it comes back to owning what you love, you're just not going to be able to get that with streaming services. So hope you enjoyed the list of reasons, this lesson, if you will, this ungraduated rethinking lesson in terms of perspective, to just take a step back, pause from all the hype. What goes around will come back around, even if there is going to be a push to reduce physical media in stores. These boutique brands, these boutique labels, they're not going anywhere. If anything, they're growing. They're getting more and more of the niche business that collectors are craving and wanting. And they are finding ways to fine tune and market in very good ways towards the collector. And I think as people begin to realize, like music, just how good the tangibility and the feel and the ownership is, you'll probably find years from now, my guess is decades from now perhaps, stores will probably be again showing physical media in their stores, just like vinyl has come back in big ways into Best Buys, Walmarts, and Targets. There probably will be a time that physical media does that as well too. But until that day comes, enjoy the ride, enjoy the ownership. get it online or still walk into a half-price Books or Barnes and Noble, wherever they're going to still be selling physical media, and grab your own copy. For a while, it'll be going online probably, like Groove and Deep Discount and Orbitz and all the great other online merchandisers, Grindhouse Video. You can still get this stuff. You don't have to walk into a Best Buy or to a Target or a Walmart in order to get it. But those places, they'll probably catch on as the rest of the world and public realizes that they actually want to own, see, feel, and touch and experience their physical media. So I hope you enjoyed this first edition of Ungraduated Relearning, Rethinking, this session of peeling back all the layers and not buying into the hype that so often happens. If you did enjoy this, give it a like and a subscribe if you haven't done that. That does help the channel get notoriety and recognition, helps with the growth. And I would be very grateful of anybody who takes the time to comment, like, and subscribe. So thank you all very much for being here. And as I always say, continue to find your own way through your own why, all the while remembering that life is not in our hands. The physical media might be. It's actually all in our heads with that perspective that frames up our belief systems, which forms our actions, which really shapes our lives. And that's just one of the many things I love talking about in the perspective of movies, books, and music. So until next time, take care for now. Talk to all you again soon.